In ancient Greek mythology, the griffins were said to be the hounds of Zeus. Half eagle, half lion, the beasts have guarded great treasures throughout time.
Recognizes that I'm a boomer trapped in a what am I? I'm not even a millennial. I don't even know what I am.
You're 23, man. You're not a boomer.
I'm technically, I know, but my phone thinks I am, based on my search history and stuff. It just keeps me with the 100s. It's very strange. Yeah, let me go ahead and add Olaf. Oh yeah, that looks awesome. That looks crazy. I love that, man. We bumped into Contrastive through space with the commish last week. I think it was like the 25th or something. Ever since then, we've been trying to get one. Very cool.
It's really interesting how they've. Good evening, for starters. It's really interesting how they've trained their AI. Their AI system. You can really see some of the images they've trained it with and how it's interpreted. It's really interesting, you know, and it's. All that stuff is obviously about what you train it, what you show it, and you know they're taking it in different directions now as well. It's really cool. I really like the end results. They're really slick.
I know. You see skulls in there, and I think Austin, what prompt did you use? You used like.
Yeah, my dimension was hell and my prompt was death. I feel like it worked with the original Griffin, and yeah, it is really cool because I did one. The first one I just did their contrastive dimension, and I just put like God. And you saw like a little Jesus pop up in the background. I was like, damn, this is cool. But you can discard that one and try another one. So I was like, all right, I'm going to try a different one. And this is the one that settled on. And yeah, it is a really cool project.
Very cool. Well, about 1:02 our time. I think about 6:02 your time over in Goatville. So I think it's about time to get started. I know. I think Noah's our treasurer. He'll probably be joining shortly. I think he has something scheduled for this period, but he'll hop in soon. But besides that, we're a small team. This is speaker right now. My name is Matt Whitman. Spoke to you guys in base last week. I'm the creative director and artist at Griffin. Austin, who you heard earlier, he's our president and founder. Also our dev. A little bit about us. We were roommates in school. We both went to the University of Florida in Gainesville. Austin studied computer science. I studied digital arts and sciences. And we found this weird meshing that occurred when we bumped into NFTs about around the same time, I'd say. University of Florida, has a great computer science and information systems program. And one of my professors actually won an algorithm. So he was really, and still is really heavy into this whole subject. I remember him talking, it was probably 2016, about where Bitcoin was going to end up. At that point, I was like so new to it, I didn't really understand the concept yet. And I think Bitcoin was around, what was it, like 14? It just blew up, and that obviously drew a lot of attention. Since then, you know, we've just been doing our own things. I kind of went down the path of traditional marketing, digital marketing, and Austin went down his path, and we kind of reconverged at this point with Griffin. And it's so exciting, the blend of ideas between tech, art, finance, and all the tools that are coming out of this space. What you guys are doing with your assistance for maps, and I definitely want to learn a little bit about you guys for sure. So without further ado, that's our introduction. I would like to know, to start it off, how did such a group of goats get together?
That's a good question. I'm the outsider, technically, because I'm just married to one of them. So I just come along for the ride. I'm married to Merlin Child, who is in the space there, and he's the artist. And Ed and I have released a project previously on ETH called Madame Sophia's Oracle of Wisdom. And that was a gas-only mint. And then we that didn't go as we expected it to because gas prices were so high. And we were a bit disillusioned with the whole Ethereum space. And I didn't really like the team we were working with. So Ed suggested that he build a team that I like. And to do that, he asked his two old school friends to form a team with us. And Olaf and Joey went to school with Ed and got into all sorts of trouble from about the age of 12, I don't know. A long time ago, they've gotten into trouble together. So now they've decided to all be in trouble together in the NFT space, basically. And that's a nice thing to do because Ed has a relationship with them, and there's obviously a level of trust already there that you have with people that you've known since you were a young boy.
We're all troublemakers in this space. We kind of have to be, right? It's funny. All the delinquents got together and decided to revamp how we look at art. It kind of reminds me a bit about there's always a phase in culture, right, where there's like an established culture, and then there's an upset, and what comes from the upset usually pisses a lot of people off. Parts of it remain though. I'm thinking like of the punk phase. I still listen to that stuff, that type of music, and I think a lot of that type of people are attracted to NFTs. We're still in the early adopter phase. I remember you guys talking with Kamish, you're like saying, I think he started like in September, and you're like, oh, that's so long ago. It really feels that way because we're moving at such a pace, right? But there's so much happening. That's the reason. And you're right, with Solana, there's more opportunity for stuff to happen because the gate to entry is lower. So it's so exciting. And I'm so happy that we found you guys by chance. But can you tell us a little bit more about like what are space goats? What are you guys creating in the space? We're talking about upsetting. How are you guys creating change?
There's lots of ways that we're creating change. I think probably the first way that we are creating change, and has probably been a little bit to our detriment in a marketing frame of mind, is that we're very open about psychedelics. And there is a big movement of that in the space for sure, but a lot of it is very it's an interpretation of psychedelics which is quite friendly, I think. Things like magic mushies, NF tabs, there's another one, funky fungi, things like that. They're very colourful and wonderful pieces. Obviously, everyone's got their own taste. But in terms of psychedelic and visionary art, I'm an art history grad, and Ed is a visionary artist. He uses his work to channel things about how he understands consciousness. And that is quite a niche art form for us to use. I think we're not primary colours just in block colour. It's very intricate, detailed work, and I think that approach to psychedelics is kind of the darker side of psychedelics as well, that people might not want to encounter. But we've been very forthcoming about all of that and our interest in psychedelics. And the point of that was because we said from the get-go that we were donating a percentage of our profits to the Multidisciplinary Association for Psychedelic Studies. And that is an organisation that uses psychedelics to treat people with mental health issues like PTSD, bipolar, whole range of other things like agoraphobia as well, severe anxiety basically. And that kind of it's something that lots of people are doing now, which is donating to charity, but we've been very forthright about why that is and why psychedelics are useful in that way. And I think it is a growing trend that people are starting to talk about that more, but people are still very frightened of psychedelics, and some people just want to talk about psychedelics in terms of the high that they get and not think about maybe the real use and the real medicinal use of psychedelics, which is life-changing for lots of people. So we've always had that message stamped on us, and we've always talked about it, regardless of whether people are scared of it, because we think that message really primarily needs to change.
Yeah, well, first off, let me just say, like, Ed's work is amazing. I love the kind of the pattern replication. It instantly makes me feel like I'm looking at something related to psychedelics in a positive way. I'm not using that word as if it's just reminiscent of like a drug. It's reminiscent of change for me. When I see patterns like this, I'm thinking of, what is it, kaleidoscope, right? And I have a fascination with that stuff. I have a couple of my own I kind of just look at for fun. But I love what you guys are doing in the space, because there is a lot of positive things that are going to come out of this. I'm not really like learned on the subject too well, but I have seen like studies, people with severe PTSD like almost recovering overnight after like a proper usage of some of these drugs, and it's just crazy to me that we haven't studied this in more depth until now. And I'm assuming that we still even haven't scratched the surface of it. So really exciting stuff that you guys are doing over there, and we'd love to be able to support you guys at all possible. And also, if you're donating to something directly related to your art, which is, I think, unique in the space. A lot of people pick different charities to donate to, which I think is benefits. One of the great things coming out of NFTs, as are so connected with your cause. I really find that admirable. So all props to you guys. I was going through your Discord. Your community is really tight, really strong, and I know you guys. Correct me if I'm wrong. You guys are still in pre-sale, right? Can you explain a little bit about how you garner such a community? Like, what are you guys doing on the outreach side to bring people together?
We've just been quite lucky in terms of our community. I think the people who've come to our Discord, some were people from our previous project, Madame Sophia, who, when you've built a community in a Discord, you do make friends. So that's always helpful. And you have people who support you and they've moved across with us. So that was a great start. And they were already a really tight-knit community. And also, in terms of that project, because we felt that it didn't do so well on ETH, we've actually incorporated it now into our parent company, so that Madame Sophia people, all of that will switch over to Sol now. And that is another way of keeping our community tight, because they know that we put their interests at heart, which I think you have to do in an NFT project. There's so much rugging, there's so little solid information, that if you prove to people that you're aware that they've invested in you, then they are loyal. So that's always a good start. We've also made new friends, because obviously moving into the Sol space, there are people who are just Sol maxis and have never heard of us from ETH and have come into our Discord. And I think one of the things that our community really value about us is how transparent we are. We're just normal people. And we always get a lot of good feedback from our spaces, because we talk quite openly about everything. And I think probably that ties into the psychedelics as well, because people know that we're willing to talk about anything and everything. But because we're transparent, and because people can feel the energy between our group of friends, basically, that they respect that and trust us, really, which is, I think, the core need of any community, that if there's trust, then these people will follow you and help you. And I mean, we've got so much good, because we're new to Sol, really. We've had people in our Discord guide us in the Sol space, which is brilliant. And they've made connections for us, and they remind me when to retweet. They remind me when to make an announcement in Discord. So they run the show half the time. Really, that's the positives of a really good tight-knit community, is that everyone is there to help the project, and they're really keen on helping. They want to help, and they want to see the project do well. So yeah, I think we've just been incredibly lucky in gathering the community that we've got.
Well, I can see it. It's just clearly obvious when you check out any of your Twitter or your Discord. The community is very tight and very supportive, and wants to see you guys grow. So like that's just fantastic. I'm very happy that you guys have that. You mentioned Fluxus, and that's really interesting, because I've heard other collections who started on ETH, try to transition as well. What is that, and how did you guys make that switch?
Right. So Fluxus came about because so Ed's a traditional artist, and his work has intrinsic value in the real world because he's an artist that goes and sells things. and he's transitioned to the NFT space because he was picked up by a project that paid him to do it, and it was incredibly lucky for him. He got into the NFT space at just the moment when he wanted to. He's got friends in the traditional art world, though, that want to do NFTs, but like, for example, you said before that Solana is a really good, it breaks down the barriers for people getting in. Absolutely, it does if you're already in the space. If you're an artist, however, I don't know if you know any artists. I know one. And I guarantee any artist you meet will be the least technological savvy person that you've ever encountered in your life. I often will walk into the living room to see Ed screaming at Google Drive because he just can't. If you are a creative brain, unfortunately, technology is not your friend. So Ed's got lots of traditional art friends who want to get into NFTs, but unless you're going to get picked up by a project, there's a stumbling block there. They don't know anything about crypto. They don't know what a wallet is. They don't know what any of the chains are. All they've heard is a lot of FUD about the ecological impact of Ethereum. That is primarily the media that people get fed about NFTs, unfortunately. So we decided that we want to onboard traditional artists into the NFT space, and they don't need to know anything about the space. We've got the tech. We'll set up their wallets. We can pay them in fiat if they want. It's about bringing quality art to the space and removing all of those barriers for traditional artists. So our first artist is Jim Stoughton, who is just the sweetest man on the planet. He's like a big teddy bear, also has no idea about technology and is lovely. He creates kind of psychedelic cartoon style work, which is just amazing to look at. I'm going to try and find a tweet for you to see. Here we go. So that's Jim, and he's part of our Fluxus collective, and we've also got John Biggs, who is an amazing graphic novel artist, and he's creating a whole world of amazing drawings. And once we, sorry.
No, go ahead.
Once we'd set up Fluxus, we saw that we had Madame Sophia, and it was languishing because our development team for that project had moved on to other projects and just simply weren't interested in it. And we couldn't do anything with our current devs because they're Solana. Olaf and Joey have got so much experience in the tech world, but all the things we've created are for Sol. So we've asked the development team from Madame Sophia to give us everything from that project, and now it's going to be relaunched on Solana. The original ETH images, the NFTs, are going to be swapped, basically. We're not doing any wormhole stuff in terms of that because we didn't know if the community who held them, the outliers of that, would do the transition. So what we're basically doing is just relaunching it, and we felt that that was the best way to give that project a fresh start, and to put it on Solana with fresh eyes. And now that we've got Space Goats, revenue from Space Goats gets poured into Fluxus, so it's kind of a self-sustaining system. Every drop we do will furnish the marketing and everything that's required for the next one, and that's just our aim of, that's our long-term goal, basically. It's a self-sustaining system.
Right. Wow. So I think I learned more in that couple minutes than I did perusing your Discord or following you guys the past week or two. So thanks for explaining that a bit. I feel like I'm kind of surprised. We do have more parallels than I thought. The fact that you guys are trying to bring on artists that don't have total knowledge of the space is awesome, because the more art we get in here, and the more traditional artists, the better. Because this is just a different way of expressing art that's already been around. So I think we know there isn't too much of a learning curve, and once people get through it, they're like, oh, it makes sense now. Coming from my experience, I'm a traditional artist as well, so I understand Ed's frustration with the drive. I almost lost this project at one point. It was about 3-4 months ago, and I didn't almost lose the project, but my drive made me think I did, and I almost threw it against a wall. Then I realized it was shockproof, and that would have done nothing anyway. So yes, I get the struggle, but it's cool. It's great stuff that you guys are onboarding artists. As I was saying, we have a similar structure, I think. Our plan is, after Griffin's, we're going to come out with a different artist with a different style of art, about 4 to 6 months from now, at the demand of our base, the demand of our followers, and every collection basically feeds into the same treasury. So, as you guys have read above, community investment fund, we deal mostly in traditional equities. I know you may find other collections in the space that they'll take revenue invested into other projects mainly, and maybe buy singular NFTs, and try to provide more value to the community that way. Austin and Noah, coming from a traditional like investing background, that's their focus. So most of the investing, about 75%, will be in traditional equities. So every collection, all royalties, all revenues from merchandise sales per se, go into that same treasury, and we invest it. And every quarter, we give a reward to our holders. And so the first quarter is up March 31st. That's going to be our first reward. So in that way, we can continue growing with different artists, onboarding people that, like you said, don't have to have knowledge on the tech end. Austin's our dev, so he'll be responsible for that. And it's just I think the more collections that do this style, the better, right? It's not winner take all. It's, the more eyes that we get on these projects, the more this community grows together. So I didn't know that you guys, that was kind of your plan as well. So that's awesome. I'm so happy that you guys are doing that. It's a service to the community, right? Austin, I know you had a specific question. I think it might have related to this.
Oh yeah, you're talking about the community vault, right? Or am I getting that right? Basically, how you guys can give back to your community holders. I was interested in that because it is very much related to what we're doing. And just to add on a little bit what Matt said, we are a community investment fund, and we basically raise revenue through NFT sales. So when you buy Griffin Investments DAO NFT, you're part of our community, and each NFT has equity in our DAO's treasury. So if you look in the metadata of each of our Griffins, it'll say you have 12 treasury shares. And what we can do is, and it is really exciting, after we've closed the Griffin collection and we go to secondary marketplace, if our community still wants to grow and we feel like we can raise new revenue, we can partner with a new artist, do a really new and unique collection, and then sell that collection with a different level of equity. So maybe the second collection has 10 shares instead of 12. But the mint revenue that we raise from selling that new collection can more than double, or at least double the total pie, the total treasury. And so the Griffin holders directly benefit, and it allows us a way to expand to more investors and to grow the treasury. And it allows us to bring more traditional artists into the NFT space. And we get to backstop their art with real intrinsic value. Because again, 100% of the revenue goes into a treasury, and that treasury fully backs the value of each NFTs. And then it also, like Matt said, we reward people every quarter with soul airdrops. And so I was looking through you guys' white paper. I did see a similar, maybe not the exact same thing, but this community vault aspect I think is really, really exciting because it adds a lot of value for people who buy in. Obviously, your guys' art is incredible, and I want to get more into the whole cosmic experience generator and do a little bit more of a deep dive on that. So you guys are really offering some amazing stuff. But I did have a question about the community vault, like, and how it works, and how does it exactly get funded, and how do holders receive rewards? That was a question I had.
So the way that this is going to work is basically it's all tied in with our tokenomics plan. So if we start at the beginning of that, people who buy space goats, they will be able if they hold it, they will be emitting capra to them, and so these capra will then accrue in the holders' wallets. And once they've collected up the correct combination of atoms, which we can go into later about the cosmic experience thing, they can then combine them together and power that using capra. So they need to have accrued that in order to power the experience. Now, once they've run through that experience generation, then it's gonna create a compound NFT, if you like. It brings in all the attributes from the NFTs that you've used to make it. So all the different traits it's got: the goat, the different face, the eyes, the beard, the nose, the necklace, the horns, all this stuff is recreated, and the metadata is pulled into a new NFT, which is going to be linked back to our experience generator. And so once you've got this, is then airdropped out to the person who's done it, who's requested it, and combined the atoms together. This is a new NFT, which then gives them a share of the community vault. And now the community vault is a bit like what you were talking about conceptually, very much, we're investing in other art of different types, and we're pulling it together into something that we can then offer a share back to holders, probably with the exact mechanics of it are still being worked out, but we'll probably use a secondary SPL token to send them out some kind of ownership for that, and then on the back of that we can offer payouts on a monthly or rolling basis based upon their ownership. So there's basically a quarter of the secondary sales are going to be taken to fund that. So with any luck, there'll be plenty of secondary sales, people trading to try and collect their appropriate molecules, and then off the back of that, then we'll have funds to invest in other projects and other things which are positive and beneficial, and will bring value and a return on investment to the investors, really.
Yeah, that I was looking into that too. The atoms idea, the molecule idea to create the different psychedelics. I think it's DMT and some of the other ones. But that's a really amazing idea, and I do like that you have to get one of those experiences to be to basically have equity in the community vault. And I've looked into your project some, and I've just been really impressed and really excited about it. Matt, maybe if you want to jump in.
Yeah, no, well, for the pure sake of marketing, right? You're going to have to resell these things if you want to get the right combination of molecules. So it's just whoever came up with that, spot on. It almost gamifies the process of trying to
Exactly
get, right. So it's just really smart. So I, kind of switching gears a little bit. Obviously, Ed comes from a traditional art background. Soph got connected through that process. Olaf, what's your background? You sound like obviously a little bit of a dev. How did you get into NFTs?
So yeah, I'm a dev at heart, but I've been a dev for so long that I've got experience about how things work on a greater level. So I'm generally a project or tech lead these days, organizing teams around different aspects and making them build a product. So we all met at school. Ed and I met at school, and we've been friends for the last 30 years nearly. And we're really close. I live in France, and they live in the northeast of England, so we're a long way apart, and it's all. But when you've got good friends, distance isn't really an issue. So yeah, obviously I come from a tech background. I've done development forever, loads of different languages. We even started mining Bitcoin back in 2007, and gave up because we spent 3 weeks mining this stuff, and I can't remember what value we had. We maybe got 3 or 4 Bitcoins, and they were worth 17 cents each. So we just fucking gave up on that shit. Fucking idiots. When you're on your deathbed, you're any regrets? It's I shouldn't have given up mining Bitcoin. Always onto something. But yeah, so I got into it then, and then kind of got out of it because work pays you money and you've got a living and you carry on with life. And then got back into it, obviously, with the big crypto thing, and made some money, lost some money, gave up. Couldn't be fucked. I literally couldn't be bothered to spend my entire life looking at a chart. It just literally took over, and I'd be just looking at a chart my entire life, and I couldn't face that. It was no way to live. It's literally, let's go to the casino instead and just roll some dice. If this is what we're doing, because that's kind of what we're doing, right? So I fucked all that off, and I carried on with work, and then Ed contacted me. He'd done his Satoshi Faces project, which had gone really well, and they'd done well out of it. And he was like, "Oh, we should do something NFT wise. These devs we're working with are jokers." And I'm paraphrasing. And so he was like, "Okay, yeah." And nothing came of it. And they did the next project, and then that wasn't as successful for basically the devs. Ruined it, if we're being totally honest. And so on the back of that, we're like, okay, well, let's continue. Let's do something properly together. Yeah, we got our other friend Joey, who's an amazing dev. He's another super high up. He works for Accenture. He's he knows his shit. I hope I'm giving away too much. No, he's pretty doxed anyway. We're all pretty doxed, like, we are. If anyone wants to know anything about me, like, my LinkedIn account is Ollie Kasiki. Like, you can go and find it. Like, we're totally honest with people, and like, go and ask my kids. So yeah, I'm rambling on now, but essentially we came together and we got a great team of people who really trust each other, who finally are at the pinnacle of their careers, and they know what they're talking about, and we've got the know-how to, which is why everything looks great in our project, because we've got the artwork, we've got the the knowledge to write the white papers and make it look good, and because we're all from agency background, so it's just agency work. This is what we do day in, day out. So the ideas are backed up with actual things we can achieve. The roadmap is achievable. Everything within there is actually a plan of what we can get to level by level. And and everyone who's seen it is really impressed, and they've really enjoyed. We've got some great feedback, and just our biggest issue obviously is we just need more eyes on it. And then because it's like I'm so. I love the project. Like I'm not been this excited about waking up in the morning and doing work like since forever, but like we got this amazing 3D experience that we're making, and that's in this. We'll have a demo of that. We've got some videos. Ed, maybe you could share a video at the top, because we've got some really cool stuff coming together, and when people actually see this, we're gonna blow some minds. I'm gonna stop talking.
No, that's that was awesome to hear. That you guys are friends, that you kind of been going down the traditional path for a while and came back together when something like this popped up. And hey, don't knock yourself too hard about the Bitcoin mining situation. All right, we've all had experiences that we're gonna look back on and laugh. And I'm glad you could laugh about it. Now I don't know if you're on any psychedelics right now, and that's why you're laughing. But I don't think so. I think that you're honestly
no, not at all.
The worst.
That's a right in place for me for that stuff.
Right.
And it's not every day or every week or probably even every year. But sorry, Austin, I cut into you.
No, you're good. I was just gonna jump in and say the worst. I feel bad for the people with they have now $1 billion worth of Bitcoin in some wallet and they forgot the password. And they can't get in. That's almost even worse than. But yeah, I can't believe you had mining rigs set up that long ago. It's crazy.
That's why I like to tell myself it was only 3 Bitcoin in the wallet.
Yeah, that's a great story to hold on to. It kind of we were kind of touched on it a little bit, but so why? I mean, we're gonna get a little personal here, but why psychedelics? And this is an honest question. I'm not being playful with it. I've had an experience that kind of changed my path. It wasn't with psychedelics, but maybe we can touch on that a little bit.
Yeah. Well, Ed is a bipolar person, and he has tried lots of big pharma medicinals throughout his time of being diagnosed as bipolar. And really, the thing that can reset him better than anything is time alone with some psychedelics. They actively help his mental health, which is why we've always talked about MAPS as a charity that we want to donate money to. Personally, I have what is called a trauma brain, and I could be in therapy for the rest of my life if I wanted to, and it probably wouldn't make much difference to how my brain operates and the brain chemistry that I have. I'm a depressive person as well, and I'm not into acid. LSD more for me is using things like psilocybin to reset my brain chemistry in a much more adaptable way than any pill that I get off a local doctor would do. So psychedelics have always been something that we have been interested in. We're quite spiritual people as well, and it's, for me personally, I think of them as something sacred, that are, especially things like psilocybin, they grow naturally on the earth. And I find a lot of the things that come up against the use of psychedelics really I really don't understand, because if you believe in an almighty God that made everything on earth, then surely God made mushrooms. That's just my 2 cents on the issue. No, absolutely don't have to agree with that, anyone. But they're a useful thing that grows naturally. I don't see why we shouldn't utilize them. And they have been utilized for thousands and thousands of years by humans. And we've kind of forgotten that because of politics and the war on drugs and people telling us what to do. But if you go back lots of centuries, then these things were always something that were part of human consciousness. And we've just lost our way a little bit, I think. Olaf's probably got something to add to psychedelics.
I mean, like, for me, like, it's intrinsically linked with consciousness, and actually throughout time, the shamans in every single culture, on every single tree, on every continent on this planet, chrysanthemum, salvia, DMT, like DMT's in everything. Like it's in so many things, from mimosa bark to like vines. Like it's in loads of different things. There's a reason it's there, and when it's hot and dry, there's nothing there. There's fucking loads of cactuses, mescaline, everything, and there's like connection everywhere with this greater knowledge and this greater thing which you do 100% connect with, and you can 100% change your life and change your outlook in seconds. It's just incredible, what it can do. Even for me, we've had a friend who's he had an issue with hard drugs, and he unfortunately passed away. But he was using DMT for a while, and it just absolutely changed him. He was like totally sorted, and unfortunately, he fell out with that crowd, and he stopped doing it. And one thing led to another, and he got back with the wrong people. But no, it can totally change you. It can totally fix you, and it has been for thousands and thousands of years.
It's so sad that it seems like the West has just divested from researching it. It's almost blue in a lot of academia. And I don't know if it was always like that. I think things were a little bit different in the 60s. I get a little cynical sometimes, and I think if you look at the amount of money in big pharma and a lot of the medication industry in the West, it is a little suspicious, and reminds me a lot of how nuclear kind of is with big oil. And there's just research gets suppressed because you have a lot of money in other competing fields and a lot of lobbying, and it is sad. But I don't have personal experience with it, but I've always I've heard really interesting things, and I've even thought psilocybin or something I've heard is you could take it and it can totally change your whole perspective on the world. So it is interesting.
There's things like microdosing now, though, which is becoming much more common. And there's a great article in an English newspaper called The Guardian from a mum who is microdosing. And people, it's that thing of, how could a mother take psychedelics? Well, I've got 2 children and I take psychedelics. I don't take psychedelics around my children. And what is the difference between taking psychedelics and downing 4 bottles of wine at night because you're so depressed and anxious about being, a mother in this day and age? She microdoses mushrooms, and she has written a brilliant article about it, really well written, and says how she's not anxious anymore, and she's not pretending to be a mum anymore. She's not being society's version of a mum. She's being herself, which is more beneficial for her children, and she's able to play with them and have fun because it takes away the anxiety every day of, how should I behave in front of my children to make them good, rounded human beings? Well, how you should behave is through being a good person. And if that means microdosing mushrooms so that you're not crippled with anxiety in the morning, then that's the way to go. But unfortunately, like you say, the West has such an idea of how people should behave, and I mean, especially how mothers should behave, but how people should behave in general, that they would rather have you catatonic on some kind of antipsychotic drug where you literally can't speak, but you're not sad, rather than find an alternative way that could change your life instantly. And I think it's coming back round slowly. And there's a whole lot of NFT projects out there which are advocating the use of psychedelics. At the minute, it's primarily cannabis, I think, because that's legal and it's kind of safe. So it's not so risky to talk about those things. But like I said at the start, we've just gone in the deep end and talked about all of the Class A's.
Well, it's more and more legalized, isn't it? When it's being like Washington State and it's Colorado. There's other places where they're actually bringing it back from. It's Nixon's draconian war on drugs that fucked it all. Like in the 50s and 60s, they were making some really advanced research into how this was going to help people and how this could really change people's lives. And then Nixon came along and fucked it all and banned everything. And then it was all massively stigmatized and like taboo and just, not in common society conversation. So now it's being legalized and the positive benefits are being realized and more so big pharma are actually getting into it. They're actually realized that it is a solution, and they're investing in it as well, which will change everything. I mean, imagine not having to take fucking lithium every day.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I've even like really recently read more and more because I'm always reading financial news and stuff, and there's a huge cannabis talk, and new cannabis startups, and that's something that I think a lot of massive players are looking into, and investors in the States. There is legal issues still with it not being federal, so some, like, I don't think pension funds can invest in anything to do with cannabis because it's not federally legal, even though there's plenty of states that it is legal. And even here in Florida, I mean, you can walk around the streets with smoking a blunt, and nobody. You walk past a cop, I don't even know if they're gonna take the time to. I mean, it depends on the cop. But I work sometimes on a bar. My family has a little floating bar business, and we do private cruises every now and then. And I'd say at least half the cruises, you got people lighting up in the front, and and so I do think there is a changing tide. I think the younger generation sees things a lot differently too, and so I am hopeful. And like I said in this financial news, it's all bets on when it'll actually be federally legalized, and then that's when you'll see massive amounts of capital come into it. I do think you'll see it be utilized more and more for medicinal purposes, but even like recreational, there's a lot of money that wants to go into everybody's looking to make a dollar in this financial world, but it is exciting, and I'm excited that hopefully soon it will be fully legal.
Yeah, I mean, it's amazing the return on investment immediately. Like Colorado, when they legalized it, I think in the first month it paid for the healthcare for the year.
Exactly.
Like, why the fuck isn't it legal everywhere? Come on.
Well, that's the big thing. They think the government has looked at some of these states and they're like, wait, if this is federally legal and we can get our hands out for some tax revenue, this may be really interesting now. So that's the way things tend to go. And I do think, I thought we had the Democrats in office for the presidency and both chambers of our Congress, and I was like, kind of thinking it should be federally legalized before we have midterms. I don't. You guys are from Europe. You may not know all the insane, fucked up shit with our politics here, but I thought it might get passed federally in these 2 years. But we're so inept. I don't even know if that's going to happen this time. But hopefully soon we'll get around to it.
You're way more advanced than most of Europe. That's the thing. It's at least you guys are talking about it properly. Like here in France, it's very much, it would definitely pass if there was a referendum. Guaranteed there would be a majority who would vote to legalize it. But it's really slow in taking hold. Like countries like Portugal, they did it a little while ago and they nailed it. They just decriminalized everything. If you've got heroin in your pocket and you're caught with less than 2 grams, it's not a problem. You're not going to go to prison, but you're going to possibly be referred to someone who can help you, and actually fix your problems rather than just saying you're a fucking criminal who's gone out there and bought something that's not allowed, And so it changes everything when you can talk to people on a level like that, because the level of addiction has gone down, the level of supply has gone down, everything's gone down in the right way. And it's just forgotten that you can actually just be honest and open.
It's such a better system. I think we broke a record last year. We had I think over 100,000 people OD'd in the States last year, died of an overdose, and yet still, I mean, if you get pulled over by police and they find even a bag of coke, you're going, I think, straight to jail. And we have people in federal prisons that have been there for over a decade on weed charges. I don't even know if they were supplying it. But even I mean, it's just crazy how it's gotten better. It's not exactly war on drugs from the 80s still, but there's such better systems out there that we should try to be pursuing.
Sorry to interrupt. It's the issue of admitting fault, right? So the people that were put away on minimal charges and then are still there, the people that put them away are still in office, right? So it's like you can't release them without admitting that you did something wrong, which maybe these people need to have a little bit of psilocybin and figure out that maybe that's not the issue here. But it is kind of crazy that all of these, not all of them, but most of these psychedelics all create kind of a similar mindset in people, which is like, you know, you're one of many, you're connected to something bigger than yourselves. You know, you said earlier that, like, you know, it's if God created, you know, everything, and then you got to also admit that he created these drugs, right? Or these plants. So it's people need to just wake up a little bit, and we're getting there slowly. I think NFTs are helping. So we need to grow together and start spreading the word. You're talking a little bit earlier about getting like eyeballs on the project is the biggest hassle, right? Because you have the white paper, you have all the graphics, you have the explainer videos, but really you just need people to see it. Now, I don't know how many partnerships you guys are in or what those entail. I'm kind of curious, like, how you guys think about partnerships. I know you've partnered with Contrastive. Maybe you can talk a little bit about your process of becoming a partner with someone and how you grow together.
Oh, Olaf, were you going to take that one? You can do that one.
Oh, we could do it together. I mean, basically, we've been approaching it very much like an agency at this moment. Ed's gone out and done he's looked at the artwork, he's worked out how to incorporate into his style, how to fit what he wants to draw, and then you know, we've put it into a proper document and sent it out to them. You know, we've been very careful, and we're trying to choose the people who have good projects, you know, because there's so many projects out there that it's really easy just to try and do something with someone, you know. And we haven't always, like, we've done something with No Humans. We haven't always gone with like projects which are massive at the moment. Like, we've just gone with some people who are really doing something nice and really cool with like a good ethos and a good belief around them. So that's been our approach to it, really. We've tried to make it very easy for people to no imagination required, right? Like, this is what we can offer, you know. But the amazing thing is in this space is how few people can read, or have the time to read is probably more fair. You know, I would be. We've had, you know, hundreds of downloads of the white paper. I would be surprised if anyone had read it like all the way through. You know, whereas like actually in the traditional business sense, you would before you were investing in anything, you'd thoroughly research, you'd really like see what the people have to say. But it's very much now influencer led, and it's very much, you know, I think this is a trend, you know, this is what I'm doing, what do you know, and people are looking because it's so new, this space, everyone's looking for guidance, looking for that mentor. So which is why you have people with big followings who know what they're talking about, because they've been there and they've been successful, and then people have seen it because it's so transparent. It's all on a blockchain, and there's no hidden shit there, really. You know, like everyone's found out if they're bullshitting. So it builds this whole thing, and it's very much influencer led now, and people are looking for that thing to follow. So that's our next approach. We're working with people who know the space, trying to get eyes on what we're doing, and actually seeing it for its positive values rather than just the balance between just throwing money at people, because you get approached all the time. You've probably seen it on Twitter. You know, how many DMs do you get a day? Hey, I'm a fucking influencer, I can make your project a success. It's like, well, can you really? Like, yeah, you've got like 20,000 followers on Twitter, but it's probably 300 of people, really. You know, they're all like bots, or, you know, like, I'm a fucking dev, you know, Austin, you're a dev too, you know how it works. Like, you just fucking make a bot, you know, you can everything that is logic based can be cheated, and so you just cheat, and then you get big following. Like, we've been trying to be really ethical about the way that we've built our thing, and not try to just, which has been to our detriment to a certain extent, because, you know, we need to be more, look at us, we're fucking mint, look what we've got to offer. Like, our art is shit hot, our utility is shit hot, our tokenomics plan is fucking loaded, you know, everything is fucking great, come and have a fucking look. Why aren't you fucking minting now, you fucking idiots? Like, mint, you bastards.
I'm going to cut you off there before you lose our entire community.
No, I love it. Well, it feels, you know.
It's sorry, go on.
No, I was gonna say, when you you try to do everything by the book and you do everything ethically, and then you're going against these other collections. I'm not going to name names, but we all know them, that go any route to get eyes on them, and it's just, yeah, it does hurt a little bit, but you do sleep better at night. You do sleep better at night doing it the way you guys are doing it. So, take solace in that. And I do think that a lot of the stuff that's floating on the surface right now will sink, and you guys will remain. And people that have true collections with honest teams that speak openly, like you guys are doing in these spaces, will remain. So keep that in mind. And we respect what you guys are doing, and I'm sure there's many other people that respect it. It's just going to take time.
Yeah, I mean, and the space does seem a little different now. Like, I've been buying Solana NFTs since at least middle of last year, if I can remember correctly, and I think it was a little bit more difficult barrier to entry. The market wasn't so saturated, and you got a lot of people coming in, and it was still, I mean, it's so new now, but it was really new then, especially on Solana, because the token was cheap. I mean, it was just crazy, and I remember it kind of peaked somewhere in September or something. You'd have, I don't know if you guys were around for the Rogue Sharks. I don't even know if you know their collecting community. They had like 40,000 people enter a lottery to try to get a token to mint a Rogue Shark, and I think it was just so crazy back then. And more recently, somehow what happened is the barrier to entry just got way easier, maybe for devs or whatever through Metaplex, and you just got saturated with so much garbage. I mean, just minting for I don't know, dirt cheap with a project that is nothing except a 8-bit picture of a hamster, and they're just, it's like the quickest rug cash grab. And then they put like on the roadmap, yeah, we're gonna have a video game out in 3 months, and it's going to be this amazing thing. And then the whole thing was either a scam or just the creators ended up they're like, this is bullshit. We're just going to walk away with all the cash. And so I think we're coming out of that super saturated with garbage phase. And you do see some really, really interesting and amazing projects that are out there, but you kind of have to look more. And I know the token fell from what, $260 a token. Now it bottomed out near 75 when Russia invaded Ukraine. So I don't know if that's more that could have a negative sentiment on the whole space in general. And so you've kind of seen it's a little bit more difficult to launch now. But I do think if you stick with a good project and you continue to develop and do the things you put out in your roadmap, and you're just a quality project that is at a fair price, I do think those will rise up, and I think you'll see more and more people. There'll be a new wave of people coming in NFTs, and hopefully we can stave off all the garbage coming back in. But no, I one question I want to ask you guys is, have you thought of reaching outside the NFT community at all? Like we put out a video yesterday. It's like Matt threw it together. It's a video of me and then a screen recording of our computer, just doing like a simple tutorial of downloading a Phantom wallet off Google Chrome, funding it from MoonPay, and then minting an NFT. And so it's just a very simple 4 or 5 minute video about how to mint something for brand new people. And we may try to target now markets that, like I have lots of people I talk to about this project, friends, family members, and stuff, and they're all like, "Oh, I want to buy one." So a good chunk of the Griffins we've sold, I'm holding in my wallet, and they've just paid me cash for it, and I send them a picture of it, and they love it. But I'm like, they're kind of missing the point. And so anyway, I was wondering if you guys are pursuing anything outside of the NFT community.
Yes,
I can
we
see
are.
so come on, tell me, break the news.
So a little bit of context for it is that Ed's got 80,000 followers on Instagram, and that for an NFT project or artist in general is a very high reach of Instagram people. And one of the things that we're doing with Fluxus is to educate people on the space first and foremost. I would love to see the videos you're doing, because I think Fluxus would like to promote those. But with that reach of people, they have a barrier of entry still, just like our artists do. So what we are doing is setting up a payment system where you can use a credit card to buy an NFT, and you won't need anything to do with crypto. So the traditional followers that Ed has on Instagram, they love his work. They want to own some of his work, don't know anything about crypto, frightened of it probably. We're going to offer them an easy entryway into owning a piece of art from Ed and from our Fluxus artists. I'm not, Olaf will be able to tell you how it exactly works. He's in charge of that.
I mean, it's a really nice Stripe integration. Basically, people will be able to pay directly in like on a credit card. That's going to then be they get an account with another service, which actually holds the whole wallet, and they can see everything that's in there without having to do anything other than having a login for that place. So it's going to be really awesome. We're really hoping, like the space is so limited at the minute. You know, we heard figures of 200,000 people in the Solana NFT space. You know, I mean, there's 7 billion people on this planet, and there's 200,000 of them who are looking in this space. You know, it's like fraction of the people. So let's make it easier. Let's, you know, and this is one of our things. You know, we are stronger together, and if we can bring more people into this space, then we're all going to benefit, you know, which is why, you know, it's about bringing brand awareness, bringing like network awareness, bringing blockchain awareness. As you mentioned, the massive drop in prices is a massive issue, you know, because who wants to buy something at like 2 Sol, and then if it's worth 5 Sol, but the value of Sol has dropped so much that that's still a negative investment, then it's really a bad call, right? So you've got to hold on to it, and then it's not paying your returns, and it's a nightmare situation for all investors, right? So we're at this kind of point now where, I mean, I believe that we're as low as we can, you know, I'm thinking we're bounced, you know, and we're going back up now, and it can only, like, Solana is fantastic. I mean, like, it's going to really, if it does kick off properly as it should, and it's taken up by people on a bigger scale for, you know, transport or land ownership or anything, you know, like it's the connotations are enormous, you know, and if that gets pulled off and people start actually entering this space there and seeing what the potential is, which is a lot more than an 8-bit animated shark or hamster or, you know, whatever. Like, there is massive potential here, you know, beside the fact that it's just ownership, you know. You can buy some art from a really artist and you own it. It's yours. Like, and I know it's digital, but like that, you can make it physical if you want because you own it. Like, wrap your fucking car in it if you want. Who cares?
Yeah, I mean, it's really is like we're on the edge, right? And I do balance. The other cool thing is, like you said, you know, you can buy something right now at 2 Sol and you think it's valued at 5, and you know the worry that some people have, especially that are new to the space that haven't seen bounces before, worry that the price of Sol itself can go down, like, you know, with us or other collections that deal with investing. But I really do think more so us, our value is backed by that treasury that's dealing with investments outside of the space. We're kind of like a hedge within a community that deals with equities outside of the community. So I think there is some benefit there. And, you know, like Austin's not going to gloat for himself, so I'll gloat for him. But I mean, our focus is like, you know, more on its wealth preservation. It's not high growth. It's not we're going to 2x your money in like a week. It really is about you know, kind of wealth preservation, inflation hedges. You know, because we see where the market's growing. We're prepared for it. But all right, maybe Austin, maybe you can gloat for yourself.
No, I mean, it's a good point. Our general thesis is to rip off Buffett, and just buy great companies that generate income and buy them at least a fair value, if not a value below their intrinsic value, and they gotta be in a circle of competence that we understand, and they gotta be run by good management teams. And anyway, that's what we're looking to buy into. The currency moves of Sol are interesting though, because I think people act the opposite of what you would typically expect with a currency. Whereas, like, people want to buy when Sol is low, and because they think Sol's going to go back up. And I kind of get it, but you think you're trading in the currency that you think is going to appreciate. And then when the currency booms, like when the price goes up and up and up, people get more enamored and want to buy NFTs. Now, like, you see Ethereum so expensive, and it's like their NFT communities usually do way better when the price is now ripping higher. And I mean, maybe that's because people want to. I don't know. It's so weird. I've seen, and that's another thing. You see these financial, quote unquote, financial people on Twitter, and they're talking about how diversified they are and all this stuff, and you really look at what they're saying. They're like diversified among they own one Solana monkey business, they have a degenerate ape, then they have a couple thug birds, and then they're holding a little bit of Ethereum, a little bit of Solana, and they're like, I'm so diversified. And it's just crazy they're 100% serious, and they do. I think those are the ones that make moves. If they think Sol's going to go up, maybe they'll sell their NFTs, and they think that holding the Sol does better. But in general, the more you see the token go up, more
Griffin
people come into the
Investments
space and
DAO.
want to throw that money around into buying these
Join the path on
these
Discord.
projects or NFTs on the platform. So it just really is a really interesting dynamic, and like Matt said, we're a little bit of a hedge. We're not just going to be holding currency. We have been this early stage of the project because we're still waiting to get. So a quick side tangent: we have a business that actually holds and manages the treasury. It's called Griffindow Asset Management, and we've gone through a lot of steps here in the States to get it formed, to change its entity status to a corporation, and get it. And we're in the process of getting it a brokerage account. So we basically port out. We bring in Sol, obviously, that people buy in there or when they get a Griffin, and then if we want to buy equities, we need to sell out of the Sol into cash, send the cash out from Coinbase to our company checking account, and so it's this whole steps. But it creates a really interesting dynamic of because right now I'm basically trading a lot of Sol, and so we're overweight. I'd say at least 60 or 70% of our treasury is in Solana, and I was looking at charts. I'm always looking at charts, but especially last week, and there was, like you said, there's a lot of support in that $75 to $80 range, and we kind of double bottom there for a while, and then all of a sudden we saw it flip above some moving averages, and now it's kind of ripping higher. And so it's just crazy because we're sitting on a lot of Sol, and so that's made our community a lot wealthier. But the dynamics between the currency are weird too, because we have to pay rewards in Sol. So every quarter we have to, if we're going to be holding some anyway, but we may have to turn around. Hopefully not sell equities, but convert some of our cash in and then airdrop the people Sol. And then I think we are going to have to price everything in like a backdrop of the US dollar because it's a little more stable. But it is interesting the different consequences of having the currency go up and down. So anyway, that's my little ramble. Go ahead, Olaf. Just saw your hand up there.
Yeah. What was I going to say? I was going to say, like, your model sounds really awesome and like really cool. How you can cross out of chain and invest in anything you want. How do you get around the securities aspect of that when you're repaying people directly in something which has a value?
Yeah, so there's a couple big hurdles for what we have to do. So technically, when you buy a Griffin, we're not trying to be seen as like a mutual fund. Our Griffins need to be seen as like a community pass, and we have that on our mint page. And these are not a security, and so we've had to build this brick wall between the DAO and the actual that Griffindow Asset Management Company is just a private investment company that's owned by the team members. So the first big problem, quote unquote, problem with our project is our community has to have 100% faith in the team, and I think a lot of projects don't realize it. They also have to have a 100% faith in the team, even if the team is saying other things. If the team's going to completely rug pull the project, in a lot of cases, you're still not protected. You still may own. I think for you guys it's different because you guys do such incredible artwork. But for us, it is very important that we dox ourselves. We put our whole faces out there. We let everybody know what our business entity is because they have to trust that we're gonna. We have to like audit our financial reports so that people can trust that our treasury is what it says that it is, and that we're paying out. And like I said, there just has to be 100% transparency there. And then the other big hurdle is, like I said, we can't exactly be a mutual fund. Our Griffins are passed, and you own equity in a treasury, and that treasury kind of lives on the other side of the wall of our business. And our business runs this investment fund, and then it's a promise that the business assets are actually a part of that treasury. So if for whatever reason we wanted to nuke the project tomorrow, what we would do is we would just sell out of everything our business owns, convert it all into Sol, and then airdrop our treasury shareholders their equivalent equity. But so, like I said, there has to be a ton of trust between our community and our team for this to work. And we offer other benefits too, and that's basically what we're selling. We're selling, I think Matt's artwork is incredible too. I love the Griffin collection. So we're selling art, and we're selling this community pass, but we're also selling equity in the treasury. But that's not equity, and the U.S. government doesn't care about that at all. And the biggest thing, the reason it is legal, and we've spoken to a couple lawyers and accountants about it, we basically get fucked in one big way. We have to pay income tax on all the revenue we.
Awesome.
But it's not exactly. Well, yeah, I just got a call. Where did I cut out, Matt? Anyway, my whole point is we
get fucked by
Yeah,
paying taxes.
we get fucked by paying taxes because
There's always someone who gets fucked.
But
at
what
some
that
point.
does for us is it completely legitimizes the project. So they're like, okay, that's fine. And so we're selling a community pass. We manage a community treasury, and we've thought that there's actually tailwind. So that's obviously a major headwind. We have to pay income tax on the revenue that we bring in through NFT sales. So like I said, it's different than a mutual fund. But there's tailwinds that a mutual fund doesn't get. So all of the trading that happens of our items, 100% of those royalties, which is a 5% royalty, that goes into the treasury. And then any other sort of merchandise store or anything we do, all of the profits from those treasury funded projects will go back into the treasury. And so we actually think that as the community grows, those side revenue streams that come from operating as an NFT community and having that community aspect, I think those revenues will outpace the tax burden that just comes from these straight up of NFTs compared to a mutual fund. So anyway, that's the long-winded version of how the exact logistics of the structure has to work. And just to too long didn't read, you have to really trust our team, and we do have to pay this front end tax on the revenue we bring in.
And so what kind of return is that offering investors at the moment?
So right now, again, it's more of a phase one of a community growth. And so it's weird. We don't have to file taxes because we got lucky here in the States. We basically created the company in January. So we don't have to pay taxes until April of 2023. So it's still a community growth. We're going to be putting out quarterly reports. Right now, we don't have to pay any sort of quarterly taxes, but basically what will happen is you'll see we've issued I guess I should have back up a little bit. We issue reports every month. Each monthly report just shows what the treasury's holding, what its investments are, and then it's a breakdown of the investment portfolio. Every quarter we issue like all three financial statements of an income statement, a cash flow statement, and a balance sheet that shows any expenses and any adjustments to investments and that sort of thing. And so if you're asking about currently, basically the people have retained their income. It depends when you bought in exactly, but net we've raised I think 66 SOL from our Griffin sales, and our treasury value is around that. We've sold out of some, and like I said, I got paid some in cash, so I think we're sitting on like $2,600 cash and I think 37 SOL, something like that. And so right now the return is pretty flat. Again, because we're waiting for this brokerage account. So we haven't actually deployed any capital yet, and we're still looking to build a community out some. But very soon we'll be able to invest the people that are already a part of it, invest for them, buy shares in a lot of different companies, and based on that performance will affect the overall performance. But again, we're still in a community growth phase, but we will be deploying capital into investments that we're interested in, hopefully as soon as next week. But like I said, you'll see more from the reports each month, and then the big reports are each quarter.
And how much is a Griffin to get involved with?
Each Griffin is 1 SOL. So we sell each item at 1 SOL. That money goes straight into the treasury, and it builds our capital base. But like I said, we won't have any tax expense. We may have to pay an estimate tax expense in Q2, depending on how much we raise. I have to look into the specifics, and then I think that's how it works in the state for us because we're a corporation. If our estimated tax expense is above $10,000 or some level, you have to pay a quarterly estimate tax expense, and then when you file your annual report, maybe you paid too much, so you get a tax return, or maybe you didn't pay enough, so now you got to hand over a bunch of money. You got to love the government, but that is why we corporatized. Originally, our company was structured as a pass-through, but that would mean we would have to pay like personal income tax on all the money we raised, which was not nearly as efficient. So we corporatized the business so that it's a smaller flat tax rate. And so I would say right now it just depends. The tax expense is different. There's also other write-offs. We're gonna hopefully raise enough funding that we can. Well, I know a couple CPAs that we'll go through to try to lower that tax burden. But the long story short, it'll be an expense that's probably maybe an estimated expense that's put out in Q2, our second quarter report. So we have our March report, but that's probably just going to show funds raised and any investments we've made this month.
That's cool. That's a really good answer. Thanks.
Yeah, no problem. No problem.
Well, I'm the artist here, and so that kind of I understand it, but Austin's really that's his home base. I mean, this is what he loves doing. So, yeah, I know. I know stuff's like I get it. Same here, but yeah, I mean, maybe we can kind of just go into like closing remarks a little bit. I think we kind of covered a little bit about each other. We got to know each other more, and I'm really happy that we did this call. I think both of our communities are going to benefit from hearing each other speak. But if there's anything that you guys would like to mention about maybe upcoming news for the Space Goats, or any message you have for any Griffin followers that will be listening to this in recordings. We also should preface this statement by saying we make all our spaces into animated podcasts. I know that Twitter Spaces delete after 30 days, so we download that data. I take it into editing software, and then we kind of put some like nice little graphics that move in front of it. So people will be listening to this podcast hopefully more into the future. Listen to me, I'm already saying podcast, it's Twitter Space. But anyway, if you have any remarks, our community will be listening to this in the future. So.
Well, thank you for having us on a space. And I'm really glad that you came into our chat with the commish, because it's been really nice talking to you and finding out about the Griffin project. And like you said, there's lots of crossover between what we're doing with Fluxus and Griffin. And one of our things is to build communities in the Solana space where you have spaces like this, where you hear people talk and you can trust the people who are talking to you, hopefully just from being able to hear us talk very openly about our projects and talk to each other. So it's really nice. News for our community is that we are doing our public sale on the 10th of March. So we are now a week away from the public sale. And after the public sale, there is an exponential burn of goats that are left over. So in the first week, 100 goats get burned. In the second week, 200 goats would get burned, etc., until there are no goats left. So your chance to get a goat is slowly running out. But we're excited that there is a date for the public launch. We're putting everything this week into that. So we've got an increased surge of marketing and just generally getting the project out there for eyes to see us, because like you said, that is one of the hardest things to do. But we're talking to lots of people to make sure that that is the case, because fundamentally people have invested in our project already, and we want to make sure that their investment is a good one. And that's what you do when you build a community. So 10th March is our public launch, and I think, pretty sure that the demo of the Cosmic Experience Generator will be available by the 10th of March as well for people to see.
Yes, 100%. I really miss having the right Twitter like icons. What is this clapping crap? Like,
I know,
just,
I hate
all
it.
agree now that clapping means 100, right?
Yeah, that's how I've been treating it, but it's a mess.
But yeah, no, it feels wrong. Yeah, like we're gonna have a demo. We got all the shaders. We got the whole 3D thing being loaded into this engine now for the Cosmic Experience Generator, which we kind of touched on earlier. But basically, this NFT that's created, it loads in all the assets from the NFTs you've combined. It then applies these combination of effects and filters over the top to make it blow your mind. It's VR enabled, so you can look around, you can see what's going on directly into your retinas. None of this interference of that air in between you. And it's like really going to be like, we're so excited to bring it. It's in a stage now where we've got all the elements there and we're just putting it together. We have to obviously connect it up to the blockchain. We've got that pretty much worked out. We just need to do the work now. So yeah, we'll have a demo in the next week of that, and we're really hoping that that's going to help people see, because we're going to be attaching directly to the animated URL, which so anywhere where it can load your NFT as an animated video, it'll pull it through as an iframe. It's going to be able to see it there and then. It's going to be mint. Like, we are so excited because we've had this vision since the beginning, and no one has even people on the team who know what we're talking about are like, what are you talking about? So like to be able to bring it to people and to start to show them and like they can start to experience, because there's nothing like this out there. There's nothing that pulls in all the traits, recombines it, rebuilds it into this whole 3D world and then allows you to experience it through the eyes of someone who's taken an extra molecule, one of the sacred molecules. There's nothing out there. So we're so excited to bring that to you. So yeah, that's going to be a demo coming up in the next week, and quickly following public mint, we're going to actually have the first release of that, and it's going to be a total evolutionary thing as well. It's not going to be static at version 1. Once it all we got secondary ideas of more atoms we can bring in, more molecules. Imagine if you could add fluorine to anything. That totally changes everything. Literally, magnifies it 1,000 times. So there's lots of other elements we can bring in, literally elements and elements. So yeah, we're so excited about that, and it's very much our own verse. So yeah, we'll be sharing that this week.
Well, I'm beyond excited to see that. I'm going to try to join you guys in that experience. I think we have some aligned dates. I know you guys, you're saying March 10th. That's your public sale, and that's also when your Cosmic Experience is launching. Hopefully we get our brokerage account information back next week, which will basically align with that date. We would love to help push your information, guys, for this coming week, help get the word out about what you guys are doing. I think, like you said, we have some aligned into here. We definitely will be messaging you after this space, kind of have an idea of how we can help get your word out. That I think is really a win-win situation for both of us, which is what this game is all about. And just to preface it, it has to do with contrastive. So keep your eyes peeled. We're going to send you a DM shortly after this. But it's been an absolute pleasure. So happy to talk to you guys. It's always nice to bump into a legit team that's very honest and open with the community, that provides great art and provides a great service. So keep doing you guys. Keep doing what you're doing. Hope to talk again soon in person. But thanks for being here.
Yeah, thank you guys so much.
Thank you.
Okay, talk soon. Bye-bye.
No, it's been great. Thanks, and we look forward to your DM, and all the best with your endeavors as well. Like, your project sounds equally cool. You've got lots of great stuff out there. Let's get bigger, more eyes on the in the arena. Let's get a bigger thing going on, and let's together we are stronger.
100% agree.
All right. Well, see you
Lots
guys.
of love, guys.
Thanks, Goats, as always. Bye-bye.
See you guys. Thanks again.
Absolutely.
100% agree.
All right. Well, see you
Lots
guys.
of love, guys.
Stay Scots as always. Bye-bye.
Griffin Investments DAO. Join the path on Discord.